write poetry, perform poetry,
Yeah.
act.
Yeah.
You're a musician.
And that's about it.
But that's still, that makes you, I guess in industry parlance, that makes you a triple threat.
Does it? Right, okay.
I guess so.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that what they call people with
That sounds good. I like it, yeah.
I'll refer to you as a triple threat from
Okay.
now on. I think it's great. But I'm right in thinking, before acting took off,
Yeah.
music was your first love. That's what you initially started doing and wanted to pursue.
It sort of was, yeah. I mean, people say that, but it was always both, actually. It was always just film and music. I was just sort of obsessed and had a huge love for both, you know, and had always sort of played around with both. And yeah, sort of music, you know, since I was about 15, I think I started writing music. I sort of joined my first band, as you do when you're just sort of kids hanging around with nothing to do. And we sort of took it seriously, you know, we were into it. Like it sort of consumed my life at that age. And, you know, we sort of, then it just sort of progressed from there. And then, but I was always interested in film and I was always interested in acting. And the paths have always sort of woven themselves through my life at various different stages where one's felt more important than the other or one's been more present in my life than the other. And any time I try and make a sort of plan to do one, the other ends up happening more than the one I was trying to sort of figure out, you know.
What was your first band called? Do you remember?
The first, oh yeah, definitely. I had nothing to do with it because the band had already sort of formed before I sort of joined. I was the sort of last member to join. And at that point, I mean, we were 15, it was called Baker Required.
Baker Required.
And the story, I believe, like I said, I wasn't there, but the story was that they were trying to think of a name. Nobody could sort of come up with anything. So you do the thing of like, well, let's just say the first thing that we see. They were standing outside a bakery, I imagine. and there it was. And then that got weird, because we then got really into like bands like the Small Faces, and they had this song called Song of a Baker.
Okay.
So we shortened it as we got a bit older. We sort of shortened the name to Baker.
Okay.
So that was it. But I mean, yeah, we were kids. It was just a sort of.
But it's
band.
I was in a band as well at that age.
Yeah.
It's like it's a really exciting thing to
It's so
do.
important to you at that time, you know, and we didn't think of anything else. It was just like a gang, and we had a group of sort of mates that all sort of followed the band, and we would do gigs in pubs, and I was only about 15, 16 years old, which is crazy now when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know that my dad would sort of drive us all over to the gigs, or someone else's dad, and we'd all jump in a van. And yeah, and you would sort of play to another group, to a vast room full of underage drinkers, and we somehow got away with it. I don't know how.
And it was original songs though, not covers, or covers as well.
We did sort of both, but we were really into songwriting. I mean, that really, me and the guitar player got really sort of into that, and we watched a lot of skateboarding videos, and we would sort of try and emulate a lot of the music that was coming off these sort of skate vids that we watched. So it was quite eclectic in that way, because skate videos have a lot of different types of music, and it was sort of punky in times, and then it was more sort of laid back, and then the music changed as our tastes changed, you know.
Like, so I guess, was it coming off the back of that new wave punk sort of, like Green Day, Sum 41, or was it earlier than that?
No, it was I mean, we were never, that was sort of a bit poppy and cheesy, but we were into sort of Bad Brains and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, and then we sort of got into sort of the English bands, like Senseless Things and Mega City 4 and Ned's Atomic Dustbin, and Carter U.S.M, and all that sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean you're talking my era of music. Like, I mean, Carter U.S.M. I think one of the first albums that I got into, because like, as a kid, it was all Queen. That was pretty exclusively what I listened to. Right. And then around the early 90s, 101 Damnations came along, 30-something, the Carter album.
And still amazing records, man.
Yeah, they are.
The lyrics in those albums, I mean, I think they hugely inspired my sort of love of lyrics, I think.
Yeah, Jim Bob was an incredible lyricist.
Yeah, he was.
Really, yeah. Oh, it's great. Ned's Atomic Dustbin. Did you ever, one of the bands that I loved, Pop Polite itself?
Massive. Loved that. Had the tee on, because we used to wear the band t-shirts.
Yeah.
Used to get down at HMV in Guildford. But yeah. And then we just, then we started getting more, I mean, the Beastie Boys sort of came into my life around that sort of time as well. Check Your Head was a sort of huge record for me, because my brother was always really into sort of hip-hop music, my older brother. And then my mates were more sort of into sort of guitar music. So I sort of had a palette of both, you know. And so when the sort of Beastie Boys came along, and they were sort of rappers that played their own instruments and sort of jammed and had all these like amazing sort of funk tracks with all this and then they do some punk track, and it was kind of like the music that we were listening to off the skate videos, but it was all sort of condensed into one band, you know.
Yeah.
So that just sort of blew everything up.
I remember Sure Shot, that Beastie Boys song Sure Shot, and I just remember it was great because like I was not able to dance as a kid, like so like the indie scene was great, but then Sure Shot you could just sort of shuffle around the floor, and that was dancing to that song, and
you
it was
could
like,
throw yourself around, man. It
was great. But I think we're about the same age, maybe a year difference, and that would make you around, I'm guessing 16, 17, about 95, which was the height.
Yeah, it was
of
amazing
Britpop.
time. Yeah,
I mean that is. You know, I mean,
which is the time you want to be.
Right.
You know, 16 is when music means everything to you. So when you're seeing all these bands sort of coming in, and you just idolized, you know, you just sort of looked up to that so massively. You know,
I mean, like that was when, I mean, like, I think Cool Britannia that happened just a little bit later, sort of when Labour got in '97. But you know, just before then, '95, that was when. You know, we were like the country was this sort of powerhouse of music again, and we were the coolest country in the world. And it was when Oasis and Blur were sort of on the front pages of all the red tops, like who's going to be number one, Roll With It, or Country House. And it was just an exciting time to be 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, it really was.
Which corner were you in? Just, I mean, it's a question.
It is, no, and you know,
Blur or Oasis.
It was difficult because I didn't like the Blur song that came out.
Country House is not their finest hour in the video.
And I couldn't sort of stand behind it. Do you know what I mean? But I was a Blur fan and I was an Oasis fan. But I was sort of into the sort of Manchester thing probably more than I was the Blur thing at that time.
Yeah, that sounds like you sort of saying Oasis in a roundabout way.
I think Oasis, but I didn't love either song. They weren't. But no, Country, I just couldn't kind of get behind it as a track. You know. Yeah. But Damon Albarn's someone that sort of soundtracks pretty much my entire life, and has sort of continues to do so with his stuff with the Gorillaz and his own stuff, and he's a musical force, definitely.